If somebody was watching every stage of these negotiations, reporting on them from both sides, do you think it would be possible to reach any solution? Canadians, next to Americans themselves, will feel most deeply the tragedy of that loss.
Our business is the election of a new president of the Assembly. A popular choice is made in Lester Pearson.
When you ask young Canadian citizens if they know who Lester B. Pearson is, most of them say yes. They know that they fly into a big, busy airport named after him. But they don't know exactly what he did throughout his career and why he was the only Canadian to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Lester Bowes Pearson was born in 1897 in the town of Newtonbrook, Ontario, to Annie Sarah and Edwin Arthur Pearson, a Methodist minister. Pearson was born into a prosperous family and was taught to believe in hard work and social conscience. Growing up, Pearson did well in school. He then enrolled into the history program at the University of Toronto. His university studies were interrupted by the outbreak of World War I. He joined the Canadian Army Medical Corps in 1915 and was shipped to Greece to help the Allied armies fight the Bulgarians. After 2 years of stretcher bearing, Pearson transferred to the Royal Flying Corps in England. Pearson's military career came to an end when he was hit by a London bus in a blackout and was sent home. After recovering, Pearson returned to the University of Toronto and graduated in 1919. After working in a meatpacking plant in Chicago for a year, he was offered a scholarship at Oxford University. There, Pearson distinguished himself on the Oxford hockey team. He returned to Canada in 1925 and taught history at the University of Toronto. While doing research at the Public Archives in 1927, Pearson was invited to join the Department of External Affairs. He came first in the departmental exams and was appointed first secretary. During his career in external affairs, Pearson proved himself a natural diplomat. He was hardworking, quick to comprehend complex issues, and could convince even the most hostile of negotiators. Pearson served as the first secretary at the Canadian High Commission in London from 1935 to 1941, and then moved to the Canadian Embassy in Washington. In 1945, he was named the Canadian ambassador to the United States and attended the founding conference of the United Nations in San Francisco. The following year, Pearson was made Deputy Minister of External Affairs, where he played a key role in Canada's joining NATO. The only position left in Pearson's progress up was the Minister of External Affairs, but to do this, he had to enter politics, something most feared by citizens. But to progress upwards, Pearson represented Algoma East, Ontario in the House of Commons. By 1952, Pearson was the president of the UN General Assembly, where he attempted to resolve the Korean War. Then came a major turning point in Pearson's career, the Suez Crisis, a conflict in Egypt getting closer and closer to the start of another world war. His greatest diplomatic achievement came in 1956 when he proposed an international peacekeeping force to ease countries out of conflict. The proposal was agreed by the United Nations. The peacekeeping force was implemented and was led by Canadian troops. For his efforts to solve the Suez Crisis, Pearson was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1957. The following year, the Liberals lost the election and Louis Saint Laurent resigned. Pearson was elected Liberal leader and served in the opposition during the Diefenbaker years. Pearson began the slow task of rebuilding the party after they were reduced to 49 seats in the House of Commons. With the assistance of other parliamentary debaters, one being Paul Martin, Pearson re-established the Liberals as a national party. By 1962, Pearson had raised the seats to 100. So when the election was held the following year, the Liberals won 128 seats and formed a minority government. Pearson's efforts to accommodate all views were often interpreted as poor leadership and a lack of direction. Nevertheless, his 5-year legacy was very impressive. With the help of Tommy Douglas, Pearson introduced universal healthcare to Canada, a system which provides healthcare and financial protection to all citizens in Canada. The purpose was to provide everyone with an opportunity to obtain the healthcare that they may need without having to worry about financial hardship, no matter the race, gender, or income. Along with universal healthcare, Pearson introduced Canada's pension plan, an opportunity for employers to set benefits aside for when they retire. During Pearson's time in office, he encouraged immigration and wanted more people to live in Canada. So he terminated the Exclusion Act and brought forward the Race-Free Immigration Act. Anyone, no matter the race, was allowed to enter Canada, under the right circumstances, of course. The student loan program was created under the administration of Pearson as well. Since its beginning, the program has funded over $15 billion in loans. The student loan program was a major piece of legislation Pearson enacted in office, despite ruling with a minority government. Along with student loans, Pearson constructed a minimum wage so that Canadian citizens could not be paid less than what they needed to live their lives. A firm believer in having both French and English tradition in Canada, Pearson introduced bilingualism to all Canadian institutions. Now not only English was taught in schools, but French was too. Soon after, Pearson opened Expo 67, a massive pavilion resort that revealed the social development in Quebec. Along with Expo 67, Pearson is known for changing the Canadian flag. At that time, Canada's flag represented a part of Britain. Pearson wanted Canada's flag to show its independence and the peacekeeping country it is, so they took suggestions. After eliminating over 200 submissions, they had chosen the Canadian flag, the one that represented us and only us. In 1968, Pearson announced his retirement. He wasn't in Parliament for long, but his legacy was to stay.